You and I are both really enjoying the whole ice pod.
The ice plunge.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The cold plunges.
The cold plunge.
How many times did you do it this week?
I did it Tuesday, I did it Wednesday, and I did it Friday. So, and then Friday, like, I don't know, time flies when you're having fun, but I ended up being in there for 8 minutes. And we were just talking, and it wasn't like,
I did 6 minutes today, and it was much harder with not having somebody to talk to.
yeah, it's just crazy how the
But
time.
I viewed it kind of like an opportunity to like learn to meditate.
Yeah, oh, yeah.
So it's not a negative thing. It's just different.
Yeah. Was it like a focused meditation, or you just kind of
I
just.
didn't do very good at it. It's just I kept poking my watch, trying to figure out what time it was, and it's like making sure it was wiggling my fingers and toes because it's cold, and
I
actually trying to get them to be colder, keep the water moving around me. I'm getting used to my body's getting more tolerant quickly.
I don't I no longer get that wind knocked out of me sensation that, like, when I first ice plunged in Tulum, that.
Well, that was much colder.
Yeah, but that was the thing that, like, I was not prepared for. Just because, you can tell somebody, but until they actually feel it and experience it, then you're like, whoa, like, it's almost like you couldn't,
Yeah.
like, I couldn't catch my breath. It felt like the wind got knocked out of me.
Yeah.
And then the first few times here, like, I felt it, but just not as intense. And then now,
Do you remember what temp it was when we started?
no.
I think it was around 50, 48 degrees. Something
Yeah,
like
yeah, okay. So yeah, I mean, my body, it's not a shock to my body anymore. My body's like, oh, we're doing this again, and so I think that makes it easier. It's still not easy, but it.
that. Every morning I wake up and go, oh, it's time to go in the cold plunge again.
So you're just right out of bed getting in?
I'm trying to.
Yeah, that's awesome.
I'm trying to do that. I haven't been successful with it, but I have been doing it every morning.
Yeah, I mean,
I did it this morning for almost 7 minutes.
that's great. That's great.
So what do you think we're going to work up to, like 10 minutes? I feel like I need to do some more research on that.
I don't know, because I haven't really done too much research on
How long?
on length of time.
I think what I'm gonna do is look up to see how much time Joe Rogan's doing in his every morning, and maybe try for that.
Yeah, he does all. He
But
does.
his is frozen. He's knocking the ice out of the way to get in it.
Yeah, there's right. I mean, that would be a pretty cool ritual. Like when you're trying to get in, actually having to get an ice pick and chop away
Nicole
at the
was
ice.
having to do that last year.
Was she?
Yeah,
Wow.
she even had some videos that she put up where she was like out there.
Just because on days when it's so cold, I mean, I feel like we're gonna get to that point. Be careful what you wish for. Like it's gonna happen where we're frozen.
I keep focusing. You say be careful what you wish for, and I keep focusing on like. I really feel like my circulation's getting better.
Yeah.
Like it's forcing my body to heal some of these areas, and it's forcing blood and oxygen into areas that age had creeped up on me. And
Yeah.
like I would go to bed at night, and after standing all day doing my work, my feet were literally hot, and I always thought that was circulation coming back. And what I've been finding out is that's neuropathy.
And what is neuropathy?
Neuropathy is where your circulation is getting more and more poor,
Okay.
and so it's affecting the nerves. Are well, how do you? It's like putting your leg to sleep when you sit on it too long.
Yep. Pins and needles.
Yeah, and then you feel the heat and the pins come back.
Yep.
when the circulation comes back.
Yeah.
So imagine that over a longer period of time. So I feel like this is helping me heal.
Yeah.
It's definitely helping my attitude. At the very least, I'm conquering something every fucking morning.
Hell yes.
You know what I mean? At the very least, I'm conquering myself every morning by getting in there. And really,
Yeah.
I don't want to like learn to love it, because apparently you don't get as much out of it when you do. So just need to keep turning the temperature down.
That makes a lot of sense because it's, I mean, it's like anything that you build up a tolerance to, you need to find more extreme ways of doing it to get the effects. So, right? Maybe,
Yeah.
Maybe 2 to 3 times a week for me will be ideal because I don't want to end up doing it every day and then it loses its shine. You'll have to take a break.
Every morning I like try to make an excuse not to get in it. And I'm like, just get it done. I don't think you're like Huberman was saying in that one podcast. There's no pre-drink for this. There's no. It sucks. You're not going to get used to getting in freezing cold water.
Yeah, there's no pre-drink.
I did allow myself today, after I did an extra long session, I actually went and took a hot shower. And I noticed that when I got done with my hot shower, my core temperature was still lower.
Okay. Yeah.
You know how you get out of a hot shower and you're liking the coolness in the room? When I stopped my hot shower, I still didn't like. It was like, it's cold in this room.
Yeah.
So it was like my core temp still isn't up high.
I hate getting out of the hot shower and it being like cold out in the house. That's a terrible feeling.
Yeah, but if you're in there long enough, right? Like you're like, oh, I'm hot.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. I still am not. I looked up use of the word eclectic, right? Because I'm like, all right, we're calling this podcast Eclectic Gentlemen. But what does that really mean? So, and I mean, I think it fits us.
I thought of it because of how different we are,
Yep.
but how many crossover things that we actually enjoy.
Right. Right.
I mean, we have a lot of similar things. Well, one was yoga. That's how we got to know each other.
Right.
And how we both ended up in yoga was completely different reasons. And I thought eclectic was a good way to summarize that.
It is. And it's not so eclectic. Merriam-Webster's dictionary is deriving ideas, style, or taste from a broad range and diverse range of sources. And then the second one I like too, denoting or belonging to a class of ancient philosophers who did not belong to or found any recognized school of thought, but selected doctrines from various schools of thought. And various schools of thought, I think that sums us up, because it's all, when you're around for a certain amount of time, you get a little piece of this and a little piece of this, and like.
Do you have your Apple Notes? Because I think you should take and put our little mission statement as various schools of thought. Eclectic Gentlemen, various schools of thought.
Various schools of thought.
I love that, man.
I have that.
I absolutely love that.
I have that. I was reading that from my Apple Note, and yet I still looked around for it.
I love that you found that, though. That is exactly how I feel about it. Various schools of thought.
And the other interesting thing is something that Google did for me, which I didn't realize Google had the ability to do, is you can look at the use of the word eclectic from the year 1800 to current time.
Is it eclectic, the
And-
use of it?
And like how like at certain times that word spikes in use. And what they do is they search in Google Books use of the word. So like in 1880 there was like this huge spike, but then it dropped down and people weren't really using the word
I
eclectic
mean, all
that
those
much.
copyrighted books that they're not using to train their AIs with.
Yeah.
They've actually scanned them all anyway.
They have scanned them all.
Yeah.
But it was just I was like, wow, I didn't know Google did that.
That I'm glad that they did that. I just wish they could be honest. They probably can't be honest about it though either.
Yeah. It's called the Books Ngram Viewer. I was like,
So what did you find for that word?
that.
Well, what's the use case look like?
Well, in 1880, there was a huge spike in the use of that word. And then, like, if I click on it down here, I can actually look at all the different books that use the Eclectic Medical Journal, volume 67, was made in 1907.
Do you have the screen, the TV in view? Because I could set it up so that you can screen share to it.
The TV?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'll turn it on, and then you can.
I mean,
just,
can't I just AirPlay?
yeah,
Yeah.
that's what I mean. I'll turn it on, and then you can just AirPlay, and you can show the results that you're talking about
Sweet.
up on the screen.
Yeah, that would make perfect sense rather than me trying to explain it.
Well, no, it'll be visual for people, and you
Oh,
explain
yeah.
it.
And I can even see it in the window.
It's almost like I intended it to be. Can you see it on your options to share to now that it's on?
SR Apple TV.
That's the
4K.
Sunny Room. Yeah, that's it. 3956 you need to type in. That's freaking awesome.
So
Let's hear it for the Apple ecosystem, man.
let me just go with.
That makes me want to make all the cameras and everything we use all Apple based because it just works together.
Yeah. I did see, like, in some of my research, people being like, I'm surprised Apple hasn't come out with a podcasting, you know, the way, like, people are recording podcasts on Zoom and stuff now. Like, surprisingly, like, Apple hasn't busted that out yet, but they could have, like, a FaceTime Pro or something where you could record these conversations.
They've actually gone the other way because when my dad was getting sicker and sicker, I was at home and I was trying to get him to tell stories on FaceTime,
Mm-hmm.
and it wouldn't allow me to record the audio.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I was really disappointed in that. Like the only way that I could record his audio was to do shitty Zooms, and he was 88. I wasn't going to teach him how to do a Zoom at that point in his life.
Yeah, dude.
So I think a FaceTime Pro, or just having a little checkbox on the other side that says it's okay for me to record,
Yeah.
and then it goes to the person on the other side, says, is it okay for you to record this call? And then say yes. It's all it should have happened, but they just turned it off.
Because some things you might want to preserve that, like a conversation with your dad.
Or how about just Christmas every year?
Yeah.
You know, and then over the years you've got shared FaceTimes that you've done recordings of every year.
Yeah, that would be cool, man.
But I've even noticed that these cameras that I have from Google, which I'm going to get rid of because they've totally messed up the software.
What cameras?
So there's a camera in the corner that looks outside.
Okay.
And they're good cameras, but they changed the software to where you only can look at the things where the camera says that something happened. I used to be able to scroll through hours of video, and then after after like a week, it would go away.
Yep.
But like if I would, like this one time I found a big pile of dog shit in my front yard.
Oh man, I bet you were fired up. Knowing you as well as I know you, I know that was really grinding your gears, man.
Well, so when I bought the house, it had been empty for years, right?
Mm-hmm.
And even though I was mowing the yard, people were still using my front yard as a latrine for their dogs, and they weren't picking it up.
Right.
So guess how I fixed that? You're never gonna guess how I fixed that.
I don't know. There's a number of things you could do.
It's the simplest thing you can imagine. So most people, they have their dog on a leash. So what I did is I took these little, those little things you put along the side of your property to keep people from accidentally plowing the dirt.
Oh, those like
Yeah.
rods. Those, yeah.
So I put those all along the front of the property, and I just left them there for a good portion of the season. And then every time somebody came to my yard, they pulled their dog back.
Yeah.
So it wouldn't get tangled up on them. And it completely stopped them crapping in my yard.
That's a great way of handling that
And
because
I didn't, I didn't have to yell at people.
right.
They didn't even realize they were being nudged
Yeah.
to curb their
Oh,
dog.
man. The
But
nudge,
I figured out which dog laid that big turd in my yard.
Ah.
It was the neighbor's dog who'd gotten away.
Yeah.
Yeah, gotten away from him. Came to my front yard, let a big one out, and then ran away. Like, all right, that's reasonable.
You were able to watch it on video?
I was able to figure it out, but it wasn't one of those things where it showed up because I knew about when it happened because I just mowed the yard.
Right.
And then all of a sudden I went out in the yard and there it was. It was like, well, that's in the last day and a half.
Right. So it kind of like records on a loop, and then you have the opportunity to save it.
And it would tell you when it caught action,
Yeah.
but it's not 100% accurate. So you could scroll through it and you could look for, like people were walking by slowly.
Yes.
Well, you could make it so that people would go like that and they would go by. And a car would go by. And so I saw the dog run through the yard.
Yep.
And then I went back to it and then I slowly went through it. Okay, well, he's taking a crap, so I know which dog it was. But you can't do that anymore.
No.
All you can do is go through the activities that it catches.
I got you.
I'm like, well, I'm paying for that.
Yeah.
It's like $120 a year or something like that. And I don't know why they did that. Why they made it so that you can't actually. It's my footage. Why can't I look through it?
Yeah, it's lame. You'd be better served just putting a true CCTV system. But like you were just talking about FaceTime and being able to like preserve conversations with people. So
I was trying to record my dad. I knew he didn't have much time left, and I wanted to have. I tried to get him over the years to go through old pictures and stuff like that. And he always loved storytelling, and I thought about it just way too late. I should have been over the years asking him to tell stories and stuff like that. So I figured I would collect as many of them as I could.
Yeah.
But I didn't have any. I did, I have video of one Christmas where my sister gave him an iPad, and my mom, like, she goes, "Oh, you kids, you're dragging us into the future," But now my mom has literally owned, I think, like 7 different iPads in her life.
Nice.
That's
what she does all her stuff on.
Well, she's losing her flexible, her mental acuities are diminishing.
Yeah.
So she can't do much with them anymore, but she wouldn't be able to do anything with them at all if I hadn't have. I mean, I can remember my grandparents, and I used to have to stop by there after school to reset their VHS players clock.
Yeah.
And I thought maybe my grandmother was unplugging it occasionally so So Heath would stop
just
by,
to get her grandkid over to the house. Hey, maybe.
So
I don't know. My father,
we can't stand the blinking light. You need to come by and set the clock.
yeah, my father would have to be like, "Hey, I want to check my email," and I'd be like, "Okay," and I would sit in a chair. This was like early days of eBay, where we were,
Yeah.
I mean, early days of eBay where you would win an auction of an item that I had. You would write a check and mail a check to me, and then I would send you the item. That was early days of eBay. That was crazy.
And a lot of people were actually still getting the product.
Yeah.
That was the crazy part.
Yeah.
I mean, think about that. The opportunity for fraud in the beginning was just off the hook.
Yep. But yeah, my father would stand behind me and read his email over my shoulder and then be like, I want to say this and this and this. I'd be like, this is just like a typewriter. No, I don't know how to do that. You know what I mean? And just like, that's just what he did.
My dad got to be real expert with, I helped him go to the AT&T store and buy a dual cassette answering machine.
Ooh.
So this is well before the internet.
Dual cassette. One is the outgoing and one is the incoming, right?
I can't remember why it was dual cassette, but I don't think so. I think it had to do with the way that it was recording them.
It could hold more.
Yeah, it could hold a lot more. And it was like divided up by time.
Yeah. I kind of distinctly remember having to have a
tape for the message too.
For the outgoing, yeah.
That could have been what it was. Because I do believe it was before they had digital memory for that.
Yes. And you could buy...
And then eventually, you didn't have to have cassette tapes at all.
Right. You didn't need them.
Yeah. Then it became just...
In there.
SD cards that were...
Yeah.
Part of the circuit board.
But you could buy, like...
But I still have those tapes.
You could buy, like, a tape that was, like, an outgoing message tape of, like... I don't know why Rich Little is popping into my head, but it would be like... Rich Little would be like, hey, you just called my friend. He's not home right now. Leave him a message.
I can't believe we all went through the phase of that nonsense.
Oh, man. Checking the messages. Checking the messages. Yeah?
But I still have some of his tapes, so now I'm going to have to find a player for those. And
what kind of... The answering machine tapes?
Yeah.
You mean the little tapes? Mm-hmm. I got a player.
You got it all, man.
Yeah, I got a player.
You're going to be like the guy in those Japanese animes where, they go to the guy's shop and he's got 75 different ways to play old formatted stuff.
Oh my God, that's a dream. I mean, when I'm in the...
You know which one I'm talking about? I think it's in Ghost in the Shell.
The cartoon? It's not a cartoon. The anime?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, they're cartoons.
I mean, I haven't seen it in a long time. There's probably people that cringe at me just calling that a cartoon out there.
Well, they can cringe all they want. We're older than them. Yeah. They need to give us some respect.
I meant well. But it is a cartoon.
We were around when it was called cartoons before they started calling it anime.
Yeah.
So once you get to be our age, then you can criticize us.
The only thing I don't have that I used to have, so I have the media for it, but I have no way to play it. Sony Minidisc. And Sony Mini...
Those were awesome. I really wish those would have taken off.
What a great medium, man, because there was no way to scratch the disc.
Do you have the original Laserdisc capability of playing those?
No. I almost went down that...
You told me about that. I forgot whether or not you told...
I was like, oh, man, I'm going to start getting into Laserdiscs. And I was like, yep, stop it. You don't need another hobby. You don't need another thing to collect. That's going to take up space. I was very proud of myself.
For resisting that one?
Because I could have got a pretty nice Laserdisc player for like $75. And then you can buy Laserdisc movies cheap.
Now, just so everybody who's listening to this understands, we're not talking about CD-size Laserdisc. We're talking about record-size Laserdisc.
12-inch.
To where you could stop it and the picture was absolutely clear. And this was back when I was 15 in 1983, where they had absolutely 100% clear audio and video
Yes.
that never became mainstream. And I still don't know why. Because it was absolutely freaking amazing.
I know a record store about 40 minutes from here where you can walk in there now and for like $5 a pop get the most insane collection of Laserdisc movies. I mean, Goodfellas, like anything you can possibly think of.
It's going to be, with all the ability to edit all of these things digitally, it's going to become a thing where I've got the original, this is what came out of the theater. Like you were talking about Star Wars early.
Yeah, Star Wars.
And how they've totally screwed that up. Now, I like some of the edits, but I think there's a lot of value in being able to watch the one that I went to see as a kid.
Well, and that's the thing.
Because I went to see Star Wars like 12 times at the theater.
Yeah.
When I was a kid.
You can't currently purchase that version. Like you have to
digitally, unlike iTunes or Apple Movies.
You have to get. I mean, my timing's probably off, but you have to get like the DVD set that was released in like 2007 in order to see the theatrical version. Because if you go and buy the basic Star Wars Blu-ray off of Amazon right now, it's all different.
See, I don't know why Disney wouldn't want people to buy different versions of the same movie. Why wouldn't they just put it out there and go, oh, they want to buy 3 different types of that one movie? Okay, it's $20 a piece.
100%.
Now that's $40 they wouldn't have made any other way.
Yep.
Am I leaning into this too hard?
I'm adjusting the audio so you can lean into it.
Well, I thought maybe I wasn't getting close enough to it, and so then it was getting all sorts of like
yeah. So just kind of in the middle of what you just did.
Okay, so you want me like right here?
Yeah, you're good.
Stop activating the springs.
It's good. It's not. It's not going too high.
I gotta get you some. I gotta help you find some arms that don't have springs in them.
Yeah. So have you, going back to like
I'm sorry.
Oh.
To go back to the Eclectic Gentleman thing, you were going to put something up on the screen.
Oh yeah, I was.
The book thing. But don't forget what you were just about to talk about.
Gotcha. So here, this is the graph. So the red line is just the word eclectic. And then I've deduced that down on the right-hand side, right here, is all the different spellings and their use. So really, the only one that makes a difference. But look at that, like, giant spike right there. Like in the year 2000.
Oh, just to hold it there for a second. Put your cursor back there.
Oh, like back there?
Yeah, just hold it still for a second. So is that at 2004 it was the last spike?
Yep. And it's kind of been going down.
When was it the highest one, the green one? What's that?
That green one
is that just a different spelling?
Yeah, that's the spelling with a capital E.
Okay. Can you go back to when it was at its height?
1882.
1882.
Yep, so if I go down here...
That's awesome.
And I look, here's 1867 to 95. And then it's going to show me every book in Google and when it was written. And that's where they're getting their information from.
The Eclectic Medical Journal.
Yeah, the Eclectic Review.
Eclectic Manual of Methods of Assistance of Teachers.
Okay. Yeah, so I just thought it was kind of
So they were very much into using the technical version of the term.
Yes.
And by that I mean, like, one of the things I put in one of our Apple notes was Miles. Was it Miles Davis?
You did put something about Miles Davis. I wanted
And
to ask you about that.
so they were talking about how, you know um how your audience can, they like your style, and then when you go, like, he was always of the idea, well, what I read about him is he was always of the idea that he just does what he wants to.
Yeah.
And so he was changing his style and the kinds of the way he was writing his songs and recording his songs all the time. And so they ended up calling him fairly eclectic.
Yeah.
And so I was actually like interested in that enough to go and look at some of his songs, but I've never really been a big Miles Davis fan. But I've been trying a lot of new things the last 4 or 5 years, so maybe I need to branch my music genre out. I like that, the gun with a mic.
Oh yeah.
I love the sign that you made with Eclectic Gentleman, by the way.
Yeah.
Yeah. I feel like we need to bury some Easter eggs in there where you zoom up on it and find some surprising things like Zach's face, and
In the ice cubes.
while you're in the ice pod.
This Miles Davis on the corner. That would be a good Miles Davis one. I really like that one. It's kind of like, it was 1972, and it was very non-traditional in terms of jazz. There were a lot of elements of like soul in there, and like Miles really went off and like did his thing on this. And a lot of the jazz traditionalists and purists,
You like it a lot?
yeah, the jazz people were like, "Yo, this is fucked up. You can't do this." And Miles is like, "I can do whatever I want. Miles fucking Davis."
Why didn't so? First of all, do you like jazz?
Me?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. And so, why were the jazz people upset about what he was doing? He was considered to be a jazz artist only.
Well, just from the 1972, just the traditional people's perspective of like, this is,
I find it funny that anybody would say that jazz has any way of being traditional,
yeah,
because it's very in the moment,
yes,
eclectic.
yes.
I mean, if there was a genre that you could use the word eclectic with, wouldn't you think it would be jazz?
You would think. You would think.
Right? I mean, that's just wild that a bunch of jazz fans would give somebody shit for
Yeah.
doing something free. I mean, is it so one of the things about going to a live concert and then buying the CD from that concert is that it's unique, right?
You mean buying the recording of the concert
Yeah.
that you attended?
It was live.
Yeah.
So it was unique. So the jam session that they did is always unique. So isn't every time you play jazz, isn't it unique?
It is.
I mean, is there ever any time where you're just not part of it, isn't just jamming?
Well, I mean, there are songs that have, I mean, basic framework, I guess.
That's what's always confused me about jazz, is that I've always thought it was just a form of jamming.
Yeah, I mean, but there's some that are like, I mean, there are songs. They're not just jams.
Okay.
Errol Gardner,
Hey,
By the
I don't know
Sea.
much about jazz at all, so
But this On the Corner was panned by most critics and contemporaries in jazz. It was the most vilified and controversial album in the history of jazz.
wow.
Dude said the music is worthless, it means nothing, there is no form, no content, and it barely swings. And like, that's
Not what you heard?
not what I heard. But then, like a lot of things, years later, it was more greatly
Legacy and
appreciated.
reappraisal.
Yeah, yeah. But yeah, that one is worth a listen. It's not, I don't have a ton of jazz, but there's some stuff that I kind of like to listen to. My brother's a big jazz guy, so he got me into some different things. And Miles Davis, of course, was very influential to Prince.
Is this Wikipedia we're on?
Yes.
Okay.
So Prince and Miles Davis ended up having a little bit of a relationship. They recorded together.
Well, didn't Prince go out of his way to play with other artists?
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, he did, but like Miles was like, one of his idols, man. So like Miles went and played with him, played live with him. They supposedly recorded some more stuff that not everything got released, so there might be something sitting in the vault that's actually Prince and Miles Davis that's never been heard.
I wouldn't doubt it.
I
wouldn't doubt it.
But yeah,
I wish he would have lived longer.
But Miles Davis, eclectic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. We could, one thing we could do is we could do a series of different people, famous people, historical figures, and we could be eclectic or not eclectic.
I love that. Let's add that to the format.
Put Miles Davis up on the screen. Eclectic.
Throw that in one of the notes. Yeah. Or start a new Apple Note that's formatted. Show format. Yeah, because we got to have people. We got to have consistency.
Yeah.
Things to look up.
Yeah.
And yeah. That's one of the things I like about ATP.
Yeah, they have.
Yeah.
Different
Accidental Tech Podcast, and I listened to them a long time. There was this 5-year period I was driving back and forth to Sterling, Virginia for work, and it was an hour one way, and so I was listening to their podcasts all the time, and I love the format that they had, and they used to talk a lot about how big podcasts would become.
Yeah.
And everything they've been talking about has been under exaggerated. They never talked about how big Joe Rogan and the size of his audience. I don't think people realize when they critique him. When people go, "Oh, that guy," I'm like, do you realize just exactly how people listen to his podcast?
Yeah, dude, it's crazy.
He has 1 billion downloads a year.
Yeah.
A year.
It's ridiculous.
I love that.
This was an AI tool.
Yes, but you prompted it.
Well,
so this is your creation.
You know what else I did is they put the watermarks all over it, and they're like, if you like this design, you have to pay, And I'm like, why don't I just screenshot the preview? And boom. I'm like, it works for now, man. It works for now.
Well, this isn't one where you really need to get in there and get the detail.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. For now, this is more than fine.
I do feel like what we should do is I could find some money to give this to a graphic designer to get a bunch of ideas from.
Yeah.
Unless you want to continue to do that part of it too.
Well, I mean, I usually, when I need some professional graphic design done, I use Fiverr.
Do you have a person? You know what? You know who I think might be able to help us really get things off the ground with the financials and stuff?
Who's that?
Is Amanda, that used to teach us
backbending, contortion.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She loves this stuff.
Loves what stuff?
The business, setting up businesses and
yeah.
She absolutely loves this stuff, and she's on a new. In fact, I owe her. I feel terrible. I promised her I would write a review for her, and I never did. Did she reach out to you?
No. Reach out to me for what?
I'll let you know. I can't remember I'll have to go back and look at the text message that she sent me, and I'm gonna try to finish that review tomorrow and post it.
This was recently you talked to her?
This was recently that she reached out to me. It was like within the last month.
About writing review about her classes?
No, she's not her classes. She's doing a business thing where she's got a freelance on a specific website. It's kind of like freelance, but it's a different website. So she was out there trying to get more work.
Oh, is it Fiverr?
I don't think so.
Yeah.
I can look it up.
Fiverr is a pretty popular one where if you need something designed, I mean, these people, you know, some people got like a 24-hour turnaround time, and you know, you pay them $20 and they make a logo for you, or but now what's crazy is there's people on there that the only thing they're using is an AI tool. So you're like, hey, I need a logo. And they're like, I'll design you a logo. But they're just going into an AI tool. And then
You still gotta know how to use the tool and everything. So I don't know if that's that bad.
yeah, for something like this was pretty easy. But yeah,
Thumbtack.
Thumbtack.
And it's been a while. It was September. She said no rush. I gotta get that done for her.
Uh-oh, my phone just disconnected. Let me see what the hell that was. Wonder if my phone died.
Do you need a battery? I have a battery to plug into it.
Oh. Gone.
Power gone?
Yep.
Um,
I got a battery. I actually have...
how are you gonna plug the battery and the mic receiver in at the same time? Or are we just done with these?
I feel like we're done with these.
I don't know how to turn it off.
Press and hold that power button on the bottom.
That doesn't look like a power button, but okay.
Alright, I'll let that charge up.
Here, I'm gonna send you a link to her Thumbtack thing. So now I'm definitely pressurized to finish what I promised her.
Okay.
Because I gotta beat you to posting one up there for her. But it's like Fiverr. It's a service thing.
Yeah.
But I'll reach out to her directly and see if she can help us set this up.
Yeah, that'd be great.
You know, to help us organize the business end of this and whatever we need to do. You know,
Yeah.
because I want to, whatever expenses we put together, I want to be able to write them off and stuff like that too.
Oh, 100%. 100%.
I love that, by the way.
What's that?
This,
What, this note?
the big screen.
The big screen. Yeah, the big screen's
the
good.
the AirPlay thing. It's
Yeah.
just, this is awesome.
That's good.
Maybe there's a way we can actually do a recording of the screen itself.
Yeah, you can do a screen record. Kids really use that a lot on the phone. Screen record's like a big thing with them. Like instead of
Why?
saving the video and sending me the video, my son does a screen recording and then sends me the screen recording. It's what they all
He's
do.
making little clips instead of the whole video.
Yeah, and he can
And plus, he doesn't have to worry about whether or not they're going to let him send it or not.
and he can fast forward
I understand.
like in real time
That
and
makes sense.
show me the part he wants me to see.
Then he can fast forward some more.
Yeah.
And yeah. And he has 100% control over it.
But I mean, I've used it.
Once he grabs that, it's his.
You know, when my mom wanted to do something on her phone, and I'm like, okay, you have to go into the settings and you have to do this, this, and this. I just made a screen recording of me going into the settings and like it was
I
perfect.
never thought of that.
Have you so
That's amazing. I love that.
have you
I'm gonna use that. Definitely.
there's a service called Let Me Google That For You?
I did not know that.
So
Because that's the ultimate lazy.
if somebody asks you a question that you feel like they could have Googled themselves, you send them the Let Me Google That For You link, and it pops up Google and types in their question, and then the answer pops up in Google. So it's like,
What do you think about Gemini?
I don't know what Gemini is.
You don't know what Gemini is?
No.
So here, I'm gonna queue up a link.
Oh, Google's AI?
Yeah,
I heard a little bit. I heard they launched it,
yeah, but
but I don't really know any details. It's not Bard, right?
no, it's called Gemini now because of
Because Bard is like a fucking awful name. Is that why they call it Gemini now?
I have no idea. I think Gemini's an awful name too, by the way.
I think Bard is
I
pretty
think
bad.
whoever's coming up with their names over there is pretty bad at coming up with names.
So did they name it after the American Gladiator?
Gemini?
Yeah.
Who are you talking about?
There's an American Gladiator named Gemini.
I don't watch American Gladiator, so I wouldn't know.
American Gladiators was good.
What the hell was I looking at? Oh.
You were looking at, you're going to send me a link of Gemini.
So I'm going to the All In podcast. These guys were just talking about it.
Sax, how are you doing with your Tucker?
Okay. I got it all clued in here. Let me airplay this. I'm gonna steal the TV here.
Go for it.
We should talk about the Google Gemini launch.
Google just dropped their ChatGPT killer, and from my perspective, it's often awesome. Just two quick videos here. It does have very strong multimodal mode. If you don't know what that is, just means you can use images, videos, text, input and output. In this demo that you're seeing on the screen, if you're watching the show, they take a picture of a physics test that somebody took in handwriting. They find which answers are wrong. They explain it. Lots of reasoning going on in here. And obviously the multimodal means you're seeing an image and you're getting text back. Second video they showed, and they launched a lot of stuff today with this Gemini brand. They're using the classic example of doing a party, planning a party.
They use my likeness in the Google video. Wait, what's
And
my
here it
name?
is. There's Chubby Chamath. Oh, sorry. I can't body shame people. Sorry about that, folks. There's Chubby Chamath. Please strike that. Oh, my God. I shouldn't have said that.
I thought Vinny Lingham was Fat Chamath.
Vinny Lingham has claimed Fat Chamath. That's why I went for Chubby. I didn't want to infringe on his IP. But anyway, oh, no. I'm going to get canceled. So in this video, the person asked to do a kids party. What's very unique here is that it does the follow-up questions, which is, really interesting and understands reasoning and context. But it built a dynamic interface for this use case. And it did like a pin board and a kind of Google-esque task list and KPIs and all this other nonsense. But behind all of this, in the Gemini exceptionalism, I think, is that they did all these benchmarks against a bunch of there's a bunch of tests and batteries of tests that language models use to prove how strong they are. And Google says Gemini beat GPT-4, the latest from OpenAI, in 30 out of 32 benchmarks. This is going to come in 3 flavors, Ultra Pro and Nano. That's basically cost and strength. And there's a lot more behind this, but based on what I'm seeing, in my opinion, I've been looking at this stuff every week with Sandeep and looking at all of the latest and greatest. This feels like it is a leapfrog by about 20 or 30% if this is true. But Freeberg, you looked at the original papers. What are your thoughts on the underpinnings? I talked about the UX and some of the reasoning. What are you seeing? And we'll consider this a flash on the fly science corner for all those Freeberg stands out there.
I haven't read the whole 60 pages, but I looked at the performance charts and it's pretty damn impressive. I used the demo of it. I feel like you're interacting with Data from Star Trek. Do you guys ever watch?
So what do you think of this? I love the fact that I was able to figure out how to put this up on the screen.
Yeah, I think it's great.
So what do you think of Gemini? It does math. ChatGPT can't do math.
I think that's great. I think they should keep pushing one another, man.
I thought you would really like this segment, and I think maybe we should have a science corner or tech segment to our format. And to those out there, if anybody ever gets to listen to this one, we're trying to figure out the format for the podcast.
We are. This is
So that's why we're all over the place.
I 100% think having the tech corner is a very good idea. Because I don't know. I mean, I try to think about things that I come over and say, "Hey, did you hear about this?" Or you tell me, "Hey, a lot of times
We're both very much into tech.
you and I go to that place."
Yeah.
So, perfect thing for us to discuss.
Yeah.
Like I was going to ask you about Apple Voice tonight. I made a note to ask you about that, where you can like record your voice assist.
Oh,
Um,
yeah. I saw a. Is it Marquez Brown?
yeah.
I saw him do a little short on that, where he showed that it took him almost no time to train it how to talk like him.
Yeah.
And he was like, I don't think he said this, but I think he was a little freaked out by it.
You have to say 150 phrases into your phone. It puts a sentence up on the screen and you read it.
Did you ever hear of a dictation software, Dragon Dictation?
No.
This is back. I bought this back when I lived in Illinois still. It's over 20 years ago.
Yeah.
And you had to do training like this for the machine. So it's not new stuff, but
Oh, it
but
had to
for
learn your voice.
they weren't trying to learn your voice to teach it to talk like you. They were trying to learn your voice
To understand what you're saying.
to
Yeah.
get it to do accurate dictation.
Yes. How does this guy say the word
Yeah.
vagina?
So you
Right.
could
Yeah.
Well, that's a strange word for you.
I mean, yeah.
So what's the plural of octopus? Do you know?
Is it octopi?
It's not. It's not actually.
It's not?
No. I was listening to Andrew Huberman with Chris Williamson, and they were talking about this, and it's octopuses.
Is it?
Yeah. And guess what the plural is of platypus?
Platypuses?
Yes.
I'd probably say platypuses. I wouldn't say platypi.
That's pretty platypus.
But I feel like you can get away with octopi.
I don't know.
And most people would go, "Oh yeah."
Yeah, octopi.
You could
But it's octopuses.
You could totally just bullshit people and tell them,
yeah.
you know, the proper way to say that is octopi. I don't know if I've ever said octopuses.
Well, you have 3 times on this podcast.
Yeah, it's first time for everything. But yeah, I don't know. The video I watched on the whole Apple Voice was like, do it just in case. For some reason, if you do end up losing your voice, then you can still communicate in your voice. But
That's a good point.
you know, like, what if something happened tomorrow that rendered you unable to lose your voice, and you had this ability the whole time to sample your voice?
Well, before the end of this year. Oh, and to your point, you can't reconstruct your voice outside of your own head. Like when I
Right.
listen to this podcast, I don't like the way I sound at all, and I like the way I sound just fine when it comes out of my own head.
Yeah, it just sounds. It sounds different.
I think I sound nasally and a bit effeminate,
Yet
and I don't think I sound that way when I'm talking myself.
when I listen to you, there's no difference. Like you.
Yeah, that's what you hear on both times.
Yeah. So it's just interesting that perception. There's got to be a
Yeah.
word for that.
Well, I think all of the bass is removed that I get through my own bone structure.
Yeah, you sound.
So I'm getting this bass that is not being recorded when I'm listening to myself talk.
I gotcha.
So let's finish this, and then I'll turn this off.
Star Trek
Look
Next
at the smile on
Generation.
your face.
It
You
was
are
so
so
cool.
happy your dream has come true from your
I
childhood.
mean, I was like, this is a lifelong dream. I can finally have a chat with Data. It's like conversational. It's predictable in the sense that it kind of predicts the details that I might ask or might otherwise forget to ask. Fills them in. There's some, I think, really smart features of it, and I think it says a lot that Google truly does have the muscle to compete, and now is showing the Huevos to do so. That they're actually putting this out there, that they're willing to disrupt themselves, cannibalize their own search business potentially, in a way that everyone's been worried they wouldn't be willing or able to do.
I think he's
They'll
being.
figure out a way to monetize it later, but they really are showing that they're willing to try and make the best product for users.
I understand where he's going with this, but I think he's being very, very unreasonably optimistic. Google has been known to put product after product, even hardware out there, that they just discontinue.
Yeah.
They are notorious for coming out with new things
Yes.
that they basically, like Google goggles, right?
Yep.
What was unsuccessful about that, and where is the product that came from it? It wasn't unsuccessful. So I don't know why they do these things, because all they're doing, in my opinion, is solidifying the idea that I'm never going to buy one of their products because I always know it's going to go away.
The cloud-based video game system. That's basically just a controller that works through Chromecast.
Didn't they buy that from it wasn't an independent company, and then they bought it, and then they used it for a while, and it was good, and then it just went away.
I got it for my son for Christmas one year. I'm like, this thing's cool as shit. This is like, and
All video games on demand. You don't need to have it was a stream machine.
yep. I have the launch bundle, which actually sells for decent money now. That like,
Oh.
I should
But
probably sell
I
it.
thought the basic of the whole idea was they had all these computers set aside that did all the graphics and everything. All they were doing was like what you do with a monitor, which is basically so your controller was I know. What was the name of that?
I can't remember.
But it was an independent company that they bought, and it was like they bought it, and then it just gradually was deprecated, right?
I don't even know if it's still. Oh, Stadia. Google Stadia. Stadia service is no longer available. Thanks for playing.
Yeah, there you go. One more service that they came up with.
Switch your Stadia controller to Bluetooth mode to keep gaming wirelessly on your favorite devices. Be like, why don't you give me my money back, you dicks? Like, seriously. Like, I was all in, man.
That's why I think he's being way way too. What's the word I'm looking for? Not forgiving, not optimistic, but like, he's giving them way too much credit because they've never done this stuff before. They're notorious for the exact opposite. They'll come out with Gemini. They'll see the popularity of it, and it really doesn't matter how popular it is. It may never happen.
Yeah, but then
Because the board will be like, oh, it will eat into our advertising and whatnot. And they'll be just like Kodak was, where they actually invented digital pictures, and instead of putting it out there, they said, well, we're the king of film.
yeah,
And guess what? Kodak is no longer a company. So I firmly believe that eventually Google's going to go away because of their leadership.
Which has always been a core mantra for Google from the origins of the business. Focus on the user and all else will follow. And everyone's been saying the last couple of years they're too focused on profit. They're squeezing every nickel and dime out of every click. And showing that they're willing to put this out there says a lot about the strategic imperative of the board and the leadership there. So that makes a big difference. The product seems really good. The scoring data seems incredible against GPT-4, which is, I think, the key benchmark. As we know, OpenAI has some new models that are coming to market. Here, let's pull up the table of results. But this shows Gemini's performance against GPT-4 using a number of well-known metrics. I'll say that there is no business on Earth that has more data than Google. YouTube is the richest data repository, digital data repository.
Listen to this part. He's right, and Elon Musk was talking about the data with that guy where he was saying he told the advertisers to what was the initials?
GFY.
GFY. And so then he about the value of the data, and he said, well, I'd have to say it's more valuable than gold. And so unlike the things he said about, well, I bought it at this evaluation and I paid this much for it, so I paid according to that evaluation 2 times what it was actually valued at. But I don't think Elon ever overpays for anything. And I think he was looking at it long-term wise, like the data itself that I'm going to be getting from this is worth more than I'm paying. And he paid what, $46 billion for X? For Twitter?
He could afford it. I mean,
what's the word? Help me out here. What's the word when somebody's been not gracious, but complimentary or forgiving?
in a bad way?
No, like he's praising Google. I think he's being too...
He's giving them too much props when...
Yeah, what's another word for that?
I don't know.
Okay. I'll try to let go. My obsessive compulsive is kicking in. Let's finish this.
Great honor. The YouTube data set gives Google an extraordinary advantage in training. And clearly we're seeing that in the results they're getting on imaging and video here. So, big announcement for Google. I think it's definitely worth saying that they're in the game. And it's going to be pretty powerful to watch. Pretty important to watch.
Sachs, as Freeberg said, the cojones are on the table now. Sundar has dropped the huevos. What's your take?
I think it's pretty clear that Google's going to be a major player in AI. But the question is, are they going to be dominant in AI? And I think one of the points that our friend Pat Gerstner makes that's well taken about Google's market position is that if you look at their position in search, which is gradually being replaced by AI, they're absolutely dominant in search. So even if they turn out to be good or great in AI, their AI franchise is just never going to be as dominant as their search franchise was in that market. And so to the extent that AI is replacing search, and I think we're seeing that more and more, right? If you can get the AI just to give you the answer instead of a list of 10 blue links, that's a better user experience. So I think as more and more searches get replaced with AI, it's just impossible that they're going to maintain that same dominant share. Moreover, it's really unclear how you monetize those, let's call.
But these guys are talking about the company that controls search. And right now, do you know how to get to Gemini?
Nope.
And I know you're really excited about AI,
I would have to Google it.
right? Do you know how to? I mean, ChatGPT finally came out with their own app,
Yeah.
so I know how to do that. But I think the part that these guys are forgetting is that if they don't share it, like, grandma isn't going to go out and find it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Only, yeah. People aren't going to find this unless they're given, unless they turn Google search off. People are just going to keep using that.
Yeah. I mean, I just searched how to use Google Gemini, and it's still confusing. Like, yeah, I don't know how to get to it. You feel like that should be on, like, the main Google page, right?
Well, that's what I'm trying to say. Is it's complicated, even for you and I. And I was milling around the house one day, and I said something, and Johnny goes, "Heath, I don't think you understand just exactly how much more you think about technology than most of the average technology geeks."
More than the technology geeks?
Yeah. He was like, "You're way out ahead of thinking about this compared to even people who trend towards that." And I was like, "Okay, well, I didn't know that, but all right. I can accept that." And so, yeah, the fact that you and I sometimes have a hard time finding, I mean, why did people switch away from flip phones to iPhones? I mean, why did you finally give in to getting an iPhone? Because you said at one point, you're like, "Hey, I'm never getting one of those."
Yeah, I said I'd never get one because I liked having tactile keys, but I don't know. I went to iPhone because probably part of it was because they did a good job of marketing it and making it look like it was something you need, and it was doing cool shit. And
You got to have.
yeah. It was the most seamless way to actually get on the internet on your phone at the time, and I'm like, hell yeah, I want to use the internet on my phone. So I got an iPhone. All right. So I've already spent.
AI searches where it just gives you the answer because nobody wants to get 3 ad links up at the top of their answer. No one's going to click on those. So I think, look, Google.
Do you know who these guys are?
AI, but as AI
Do I know what?
Who these guys are?
Nope.
So
that's David Sachs.
Company, I think.
I have the opposite position. I'll explain, Sachs. While I do think you're right, their dominance won't be the same.
Jason.
Having used the Google Flights AI integration,
I don't know as
Google
much
Shopping
about him as I do
integration,
David
that's
and
embargoed right now,
Chamath.
which is very like 1.0 or even point.
So it's Chamath, Jason, David Sachs, and Friedberg. And I think they're all. You know who Chamath is?
Nope.
He was the president. I think he was the president. He was part of Facebook for a long time.
Okay.
And so I think they're all billionaires. All 4 of them.
Damn, really?
Yeah. And so then they started playing poker together. And that's why this is called the All In Podcast.
Oh, okay.
Right. And so then they started doing this together, and they've been interviewing people like Tucker Carlson and Vivek Ramaswamy, and they had Chris Christie on, They had they're all Republican presidential candidates.
All of these guys?
No, the guys I'm talking about,
Oh.
Chris Christie and Vivek, and then they had RFK, not JFK, but Robert, his nephew.
Bobby Kennedy's son?
Yeah,
Yeah.
they had him on and talking about all the vaccine stuff and stuff like that. So it's pretty interesting. Anyway,
Yeah, he did a extensive media tour. I feel like those people like make the rounds now, man.
well, you know, it's the election cycle. If you're not starting now, you're not winning next year.
Yeah.
You know.
Yep.
Did you see the part of the last Republican debate where Vivek basically called Nikki Haley out about not knowing the provinces in Ukraine that she wants supposedly to send more money to, and then possibly send our armed forces into if she becomes president?
No.
And she just stands there with a dumb look on her face, and then eventually she says 3 provinces. And he goes, "Yeah, one of those is not. That's not right.
Nah.
That answer is incorrect." Is awesome.
I've never even heard of her. I mean, I've heard of these other people, but I've never heard of her. What is her name?
Nikki Haley. She's in. So this is the primary race, right? They're all trying to get the Republican nod to run for president.
Yeah.
And the idea is that if Donald doesn't actually get to run, or doesn't run, then who's going to run for president? So they're doing all this knowing that he's more than likely going to run, that he is running, and that he is also very much leading all of the polls.
Because there can only be one person from
There
each
can only-
party, right?
From each party, yeah. But Vivek has been calling out the head of the Republican Party, and he's just been pissing off everybody who, and rightfully so. He's telling a lot of truths, like Iowa. They want to eminent domain farmers' land in order to build a pipeline, to run this pipeline across their farmland in order to send carbon capture, I think, from a coal plant to where it can be shoved and stored underground permanently. They want an eminent domain. And he says, that's not what eminent domain is for. First of all, you have to prove that is actually for the public's good. And that's a hoax.
Yeah.
Did you see? I just watched this thing just recently with what was that guy who looks a little bit like Fred Munster that ran for president a while back? Real tall, thin guy.
Okay. Herman Munster?
Yeah. John Kerry. And he's got a master's in political science. And so the guy questioning him at this congressman questioning him, and he goes, "So, what science did you practice?" Well, that's just he basically says, well, that's just the name of it. He says, so there's no real science involved in your degree. Well, it's a bachelor's of art. In other words, no, there's no science involved in what he's doing.
Yeah.
They call it political science, but you'll find that all of the things where they add the word science to it, there's actually no science involved in it. And all the things that actually have science in them, they don't need to add the word science to them.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Like, I studied physics. That's actual science.
Yeah, they don't call it science.
They don't call it physics science. So anyway, he goes, so we have a pseudoscientist here trying to explain to us pseudoscience on climate change. And I just want to put out, you ask him how much parts per million there are of carbon dioxide in the air right now. And he goes, well, if you go back 800,000 years, this is the high it's ever been. And he goes, well, that's real convenient of you to do that. But if you go back 200 million years, which they can through the ice cores, it was much higher back then. And so this is what John Kerry said. Well, there was no human beings then. And he goes, well, then why was it so high? Well, there was natural geological features. And what happened? So there's no natural geological features anymore? Well, we weren't around back then. And so he's got this circle philosophy going around about, because they're trying to convince everybody that humans are the ones that are raising carbon dioxide levels. And yet his logic is that the reason why it was so high before that is because there was no humans. Well, you can't have it both ways.
Yeah, it's kind of contradicts itself.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely.
You don't find this as interesting as I do you?
Yeah, it's a little.
Okay, that's
a little
fine.
up here.
That's fine. That's fine.
A little bit.
That's why we need to have a format so he stays in his lane.
I got you.
Doesn't take the show in a direction permanently that like everybody's like, I'm out.
Yeah, I don't know.
I want to have a short manufacturing part of the, like on-demand manufacturing.
About on-demand manufacturing?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, just a little blurb about what's going on with like 3D printing. And,
yeah, oh yeah.
Because I don't know if you're aware, but the guy who's leading the company for Bamboo Labs.
Yep.
He came from DJI.
Oh, okay. So he's,
Well, so they've made drones and the technology that they're creating for it more mainstream. And they build it so that more people can use it. So it's more user-friendly, the software.
Yep.
And that's exactly what he's done with this printer that I have.
Yeah, he's made right. That's huge, making shit. Ease of use is...
Yeah, it's a big deal.
Yeah, because probably trying to 3D print
Well, that's why I never
10
bought
years
one.
ago, yeah, it's probably incredibly complicated and complex. And now...
Well, when you buy a $300 printer and you pull it out of the box and you have to put it together, and then you have to spend a week getting it to output its first print, I'm out.
Yeah, it should be.
So-
that thing's plug and play, right?
I was printing almost immediately after turning it on.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
And I didn't even have the exact materials that were there for the print. My watch just told me that you edited one of our notes.
Well, I accidentally checked a box. Or it asked me if I wanted to uncheck a box. And I just hit not now. And then it let you know that I did that. Yeah, I don't know.
Don't worry about it.
I don't know what happened.
We
there.
will figure it out.
But when I compare our notes, complete the bio and add the text file below, Heath. Complete the bio and add the text file below, Zach. I had that same thing, that a bio would be good.
Yeah, we're gonna get asked, and the whole idea is to. Plus, we're both writing books.
Yep. Yeah, and I think if we have different topics, like when you say you want a manufacturing part, and we talk about manufacturing for 7 minutes, then boom, that's a short right there.
Yeah.
That's perfect stuff.
Maybe we can get the AI to help us with. So we'll have a document that is our format and how much time that we want to spend on each of it.
Yep.
And then we'll have our bios, and then we'll have an outline for each one of the, and then we'll ask our guest. So we'll ask the AI to give us a questionnaire that is based on our outline. And part of it will be when we have the guests on, talking about them and what they're involved in, and background on them, and we'll get them to like, here's a little bit of prep work for the podcast.
Yeah, I think
And,
that's great.
Fill this out for us so that we can sound somewhat intelligent when you come on our podcast.
Yeah,
We do some research on you.
that's why Johnny Carson did pre-interviews on people, because they do a pre-interview, and then they know what they want to discuss during the actual interview.
Well, when Chris Williamson was talking to Alex, I forget how to say his last name. Starts with an H though. But when he was talking with him, he's like, look, and I'm hearing the same thing in this book that I'm reading, Unreasonable Hospitality, to where they're doing the hard work of like learning this thing.
Yeah.
Like they were setting up kind of like a ballet for having service come to the table. It's a 4-star Michelin restaurant,
Yeah.
like you don't have people bumping into each other when they're going out to the tables. It looks a little bit like Cirque du Soleil,
Yeah, right.
but it's also efficient. And what he was saying, what Alex was saying is that you do all this hard work up front, and you're working, and you get your 10,000 hours in, or your 10,000 days, and then when you go to do the thing, you might be nervous because it's finally coming time to do it, but you're not nervous about the content anymore.
Yeah.
You've mastered it.
When I hear examples like that, for some reason it makes me think about stand-up comics and like the work that they put into their routines and what they get up there and talk about.
Yeah.
And like
Yeah.
all to make it look super effortless when they are actually up there, but the amount of work that went into that, the testing, the tweaking, the nuances, like
What people should be thinking is how many times has this guy told this joke?
yeah.
He's hit it, and everybody thinks, oh, well, I could never do that. Well, no, you can't, because you haven't practiced it 10,000 hours.
Yeah.
And I have to remind myself of that when I'm getting frustrated outside of my own lane at work. Like I'm trying to put together a presentation or something like that. I have thousands and thousands of hours. Like I probably have 40,000 hours worth of CAD work
Yeah.
in my background. So I'm just stupid good at that.
Yeah.
Like, but when I go and try to make a presentation about what I know, I ain't good at that.
Yeah. You just have to prepare a little more.
I have to do it.
Yeah.
I have to sign up for the fact that I'm the court jester in that area, and in order to master it, I got to put the hours in.
So yeah, we prepare this so it ends up being easy to sit here and have this conversation, and
Yeah.
then I think it's going to be good because then we're going to have a 90-minute one piece, and then we're going to be able to take 7 different.
And over the years, you're going to be able
Beats.
to, yeah, over the years, you're going to be able to take this prep work and go back through the content and,
Yeah.
like do a duet of us, let's say 10 years from now, still doing this, or even a year from now, and how much better we are. Like I recognize I'm stepping all over you verbally,
No, I mean,
but I'm not good at this whole. You're a much better listener than I
it
am.
takes a little bit of time to get our cadence down.
Yeah.
I think anybody that we would want to be a guest, they should have the option to plunge and then pod. Like,
Put that in there.
yeah. Like,
Did I put that in there already? Plunge and then pod.
Did you? I just put it in there.
I
but
would like to. You said sometimes we might do 2 in a day, and maybe we'd have one earlier in the day and one later in the day.
Yeah.
Definitely plunge early in the day.
Yeah.
I don't see a scenario we wouldn't be plunging with them though, and I don't think I'm gonna do it twice a day.
Yeah. I don't know. You could. For the pod,
All right.
you would do it.
All right.
But yeah, I mean, I think it'd be crazy to like.
And then we're gonna have to have a sauna.
I'm telling you, I envision it in my head, just like the Hot Ones show, where they ask people questions about hot wings. Put somebody in that ice plunge, have them sit in there. They got 1 minute to answer one question to answer the first minute. Another, and we know the questions.
And they're all easy.
But they get
There's no right answer.
right.
They're just questions.
A question that they got.
Where were you born?
Yeah. Yeah.
How many parents did you have?
Yeah. Or who's the person you consider the most influential in your life?
Yeah.
You know, like.
Well, that might be a little bit hard to do when
Well,
you're trying to breathe.
That's the point. That's the point.
All right. Well, you have
Yeah.
a different respect to
Yeah.
it. It's okay.
Because I think that the answer when you're in there
Is honest.
is going to be different than the answer when you're nice and comfy on the couch.
I think you're right.
I think you get a different answer. I think
It's gonna be more honest.
I think you think differently in that pod.
And honest in a way that you don't know you're being more honest.
Yeah.
Like you're not being deceitful outside of that, but like you're just your brain is working differently when you're in the
Yeah.
ice water.
Yeah, your brain is in a different kind of like
some
survival
of
mode.
some of the control, the mask control features are on standby.
Yeah. Yeah, you don't have time to like
Oh,
think
I wanna-
of what would sound best.
I want to learn how to say that better. Your mask control features, control mechanisms are on standby. Oh, I love that for a t-shirt. And with the ice bath below it.
Yeah.
Ice bath, your intellectual mask control features are automatically on standby.
I don't even know if I can do that once. I was going to design a t-shirt the other day.
What was it going to say?
Suck my caucus.
I like that. I think Vivek would like that.
Yeah. I was just going
He's
to...
planning on doing really well in the Iowa caucus
Yeah.
because I don't know. Did I share this with you? He is on TikTok. He is on Instagram. He is on X. He is on Facebook. None of these other people are on these platforms. He's doing shorts.
Is
He's
it?
doing long form. He's got his own podcast.
Dude, that's smart, man.
He's literally interviewing people from Donald Trump's administration on his podcast. He's interviewing all sorts of people. He's on other podcasts like the All In podcast, and he's been interviewed by Jordan Peterson. He was on X being interviewed by Elon Musk during the Israel thing, and they had Israeli leadership guys. I think they were rabbis and stuff, or just intellectuals from Israel that were on there too, and they were talking about what was going on in Israel. And Vivek has friends in Israel, so he's like, they keep saying that he's not doing well in the polls. He's operating completely outside of the standard machine.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like that's what you're going to need to do, man.
That's what Donald Trump did to get elected in 2016.
Yeah.
He was not doing well in the polls, and then he won. And everybody was surprised. And I think the reason everybody was surprised is because the polls are a lie.
Yeah. Like the polls are like the old ass way of...
No, I think they're
measuring it.
actually corrupted
Oh, yeah.
because people want to vote for a winner. And so what they've done is they said, okay, well, we're going to provide numbers that get people to vote the way we want them to vote. And then there's also the opposite effect too. Like I was walking around work and people are like, well, I'm going to vote for Donald Trump because there's no way I want Hillary Clinton to be our president. So
Yeah.
anybody I have to vote for to not have it be her,
Yeah, I feel like a lot of people do that.
a lot of people do that.
A lot of people. That's what people tried to convince me to vote because couldn't let Donald Trump be president.
Well, it doesn't matter who you really vote for here in Maryland, dude,
Yeah.
because it's a blue state.
So
There's
then-
not enough red people here to vote for Donald Trump to make a difference.
Yeah. So then you just said it. It doesn't matter if you vote.
It does, but it doesn't.
I mean,
I know how you feel about this, and I
know, but
and
I know.
I'm not trying to pressurize you to do it.
what? I mean,
I-
you're
I-
not.
I
You're
think-
never. You're not never going to convince me. It's voting's
No,
right
no.
there with mushrooms.
I
You know what I
gotcha.
mean? But
I got you.
but yeah, if you just said it doesn't matter.
The voting itself and the way the electoral college is set up, but I do think that it does. So I voted outside of that paradigm of voting for the anti person
Yeah.
because I believe that over the long run, what's that phrase? The truth always wins. The light over always. I mean, it's like a phrase from our childhood, right? Darth Vader eventually came back to the light side. But it didn't look like that was even possible.
Darth Vader eventually comes back to the light side?
Yeah, you know that, right? You didn't know that?
In what movie?
When he takes his helmet off after he throws the Emperor over the balcony.
I don't
Anakin
know.
comes back from the dead. And Darth Vader is killed.
I don't think I know Star Wars that well, man.
The part where he's beating down Darth Vader and the Emperor is going to use lightning to destroy Luke. And then Darth Vader takes him and throws him over the...
If you asked me to explain to you the story of what Star Wars is, I couldn't even begin to, man.
It's very simple. It's just like Blazing Saddles where it's black and white hats.
Yeah. I mean, I know
It's just that simple.
it's good versus evil, but like
Yeah.
I can't
Except even in Blazing Saddles, one of the guys changes his hat, doesn't he? Well, that's what Darth Vader did. It went from Anakin, who's wearing a white hat, and then he's lured to the dark side.
Darth Vader is Anakin Skywalker?
Yes.
Okay. All right. I really don't. What's crazy because my son was so into it, but like, and I watched him with him, but like,
Dude, do you have any idea how much commenting we would get on a podcast
where I was
yeah.
just asked you if Darth
Yeah.
Vader
They're
was
like,
Anakin Skywalker.
What the hell, Zach?
Yeah, I just,
That's not a bad thing.
well,
You've
okay.
got your priorities in life.
But listen,
That's a comic book, basically. So,
but this is,
but I agree with most people out there. It's very important that everybody know this.
But this is where our age difference comes into play just a little bit because first Star Wars came out
Oh, that's true. It is part of the original 3.
78, right? 77.
Yeah, this is part of. You're right. It's not part of the prequels.
So, but I was born in 78. So like my brother was born in 1968. So,
So your brother's my age.
yes. So, you were like what, 10 when Star Wars came out? Around there?
77. I was like 9.
Yeah. So like
I remember watching it for the first time. I think it was at Thanksgiving at my uncle's house. Robert Benjamin. And he had a VHS tape.
yeah.
I think this is back when they still hadn't decided on whether or not it was going to be beta or VHS.
Yeah.
And he had a bunch of VHS tapes. In fact, I think he had I think he might have had a pirated version of it
Yeah, oh yeah, pirated versions. They were big time.
in '77.
My dad
And
knew
then I
a
went
guy.
and then I went and I saw it like many more times at the theater.
Yeah, you saw it 9 times?
I think I saw it a total of 12 times. I can't remember most of them, but it's a number that sticks out in my head because it was just that popular back then.
Yeah. So like
Like
I
the
was
number
born
of movies that were out back then and how popular Star Wars was just like
it was a big deal. Return of the Jedi, the one with the Ewoks, I want to say that came out when I was a little bit older, and but I was still really
you
little.
remember he burns Darth Vader's body at the end of that, right?
No. Yeah, I don't like. We had a beta player in my house, but we didn't have that tape. So
Do you know why? One of the reasons why? I don't know all the reasons why off the top of my head, but do you know any of the reasons why beta didn't win out? Because it was better quality video.
a smaller tape.
It was shorter.
Yeah, you can't put as much.
Couldn't put a 2-hour movie on it because it was too short for that.
Yeah.
Then I think the other one is that even with the lower quality, it was an open ecosystem, kind of like Microsoft and Windows.
Yeah. What do you mean, the tapes?
The format. No one owned it.
Oh, okay. Like the actual. I got you.
You didn't have to pay, like Qualcomm. You have to pay to use their chips, and
Right. So everybody could put out their version of a VHS player and their tapes, and
they could just use it without having to pay a patent fee.
So hold on. So let me look at this. But yeah, like there's like that nuance between the age is like, yeah, Return of the Jedi came out in 1983. I was 5.
So you didn't even get to see it in the theater.
So I mean, I remember seeing E.T. in the theater.
What year was that?
I feel like that was
84? I think it was
E.T.
83.
1982. Holy shit. I remember going with my parents to see that. I was 4. That's probably one of the first.
I got to be honest with you. What the hell are you doing going to see that scary movie at 4? Because that's scary for a 4-year-old. Aliens and...
I remember
Well, that's maybe why you remember you're scared shitless.
the first female breasts that I saw on screen.
And who did they belong to?
Hold on, let me tell you what year it was. This was in 1984. I was 6. I went to the theater with my father to see Splash with Tom Hanks and Daryl Hannah. And
Well, those are some nice titties.
There's the part where she's running around naked and in the beginning, and I remember like, damn, I didn't know they did that on
I
me.
loved it
Like,
when she had to use a hairdryer to dry her
yeah,
so she would get her legs back. I was like,
yeah.
oh my god.
That's a good movie,
So
man.
you can't take a shower without fishing out.
They don't make them like that anymore, man.
No, they don't.
They don't. They
don't.
don't make them like that anymore.
So do you remember his brother in Splash?
I remember him having a brother. Who was it?
It was John. It was a comedian, John
Was it John Candy?
Candy.
Yeah.
Do you remember what his thing was in the movie that he would do all the time?
No, it wasn't.
It was really nasty.
No.
And totally, you can't put this in movies nowadays. So when he was a kid, he would go up to girls and he would drop coins on the floor.
and look
and
up.
and
Yeah.
look up their skirt.
I
And
remember
then he
that
did
now.
it again as an adult.
Yes, I do remember that now. They like do a flashback to him as a little kid.
Yeah,
Yes. Yes. Yeah, you probably can't get away with that.
No,
now.
no, it would just be, back when I was a kid, everybody understood that was just a movie.
Yeah.
And
it's
people
just a
didn't
movie.
really behave like that in real life. And that anything that they did in the movie was probably not a good idea.
Yeah.
And nowadays it's like, oh, that's terrible.
Yep. 100%.
It's just a movie.
It's just a movie, man.
Did you see the original Red Dawn in the theater?
In the theater, no.
What year was that? I think that was 87, wasn't it?
I was about to guess 86. Red Dawn. 84. Both off.
Holy crap.
Yeah.
Red Dawn.
Yep. I haven't seen that in a few years. I rented that from Blockbuster in my early teens, I feel
Has
like.
your boy seen it? It's Jackson, right?
Yeah, I don't believe he's seen it.
Has he seen Pony Boy?
The Outsiders? Is that what that's called?
Yes, The Outsiders with Pony Boy. Yeah, it's Pony Boy. Oh my God,
I think
The Outsiders, where it has
Matt.
Tom C. Thomas Howell,
Okay. C. Thomas Howell is in.
Red Dawn.
He's in Splash, and now he's in this one. This is like a C. Thomas Howell film.
I don't think he's in Splash, is he?
Yeah, he's popped
I
up.
know he's in E.T.
Yeah, he plays Tyler. Oh, E.T. E.T.
He's in E.T.
I forgot I looked up E.T. and
So yeah, I know he's in E.T. He's one of the bicycle kids, right?
yeah,
And then he's in Red Dawn.
he's in The Outsiders.
Yes.
Ah.
Who else is in The Outsiders? Don't look.
I'm not looking. I'm looking at C. Thomas Howell's filmography. What's the guy name? Matt.
All big guys.
Yeah.
All of them did amazing stuff. Moving on. Just name one, and I'll name them all for you.
Who's the dude? It's Matt something.
There's no Matt.
No? Well, I can't name
Oh,
him.
Matt Dillon. You're right.
Matt Dillon. Matt
he
Dillon.
is. I was
I
thinking
was-
of the core group.
I was going to say Matt Damon, but I meant Matt Dillon.
Matt Dillon, yeah.
Yeah.
So then it was Patrick Swayze,
Yeah.
and then there was Tom Cruise,
Okay.
and then there was Rob Lowe.
Oh, Rob Lowe was in that. Yeah, I mean, that's a group.
So what were their names? Do you remember what their names were in that movie?
No, I definitely don't.
Rob Lowe's, I believe, was Soda Pop. We gotta have a move out. This has to be part of our format. Talking about old 80s movies. 80s movies part of the format.
Okay, so you were right. Soda Pop Curtis. Man, there's a couple other ones in there. Ralph Macchio was in it.
So I couldn't remember Ralph Macchio being in it, but I thought he was.
Emilio Estevez was in it.
Emilio is one of the brothers. Patrick Swayze is the oldest brother. Tom Cruise, I think, is a neighbor. Tom Cruise, you can barely recognize in that movie. He was
Yeah.
really good in that movie, but movies right after that, he got totally serious, and he was changing his character wildly.
Well, Risky Business was after this, right?
Yeah, but there was another one where he played like he was part of a military school,
Yeah.
and you'd barely recognize him. He was in that with Tim. I can't remember his name.
My favorite Tom Cruise movie is The Color of Money.
Is it
Oh, yeah.
with Paul Newman?
Scorsese. I mean, all the elements of that. The way it's like, it was like a reboot of The Hustler. You know what I mean? Like,
Oh, yeah, I like that part about it.
It's a sequel to, like, that's common now. That wasn't common back then. Like,
No, no.
That was like an out there idea of like, hey,
Yeah.
I'm going to make a sequel. Like, that's fucking cool. That Color of Money, oh, the way it's filmed is such a gorgeous movie. Like, I can like picture the color green.
We're gonna
of
have
the
to
felt
have-
on the tables.
We're gonna have to have like a movie that we talk about. Yeah, I like this.
I mean, we could even could take it a step further and put together like a clip.
Dude, with all the shit we like to talk about, we could have 5 and 6 hour podcasts.
Yeah, we could. I mean,
we're gonna have to dial it back.
we do because we're 1 hour and 50 minutes right now. So,
Are you getting tired?
A little bit, but we've done it again. We're so all over the place. We're so fucking all over the place.
But I think you're right though. We're getting used to each other. We're getting used to We're getting used to the things that we want to talk about. I definitely want to have an 80s movie part of the segment, you know?
I mean,
I think we need a third to keep us on track.
Okay, so we get a third. How are we going to set this up?
Well, who?
Oh, like a third, like every time.
Yeah.
Are you talking about a third,
What do
like
you-
the guest being?
I
the
mean,
third?
I think that having a guest is an absolute necessity. There's just too many. I think it really helps fill out the idea of the eclectic gentleman. Like
Yeah.
we're gonna interview people. Like I want to interview Allie,
Yeah.
right, and other people, you know.
Yeah.
But mostly, I want to try to get like not nobodies as far as people, but nobodies that anybody really knows. Like
Oh, right.
like famous wise, they're not known, but like they're stupid interesting.
Oh, yeah.
Like Jacob
Jacob,
is like,
Roger.
but we've
Right.
got to get really good at like just showing just exactly how interesting they are in the short time that we have. And that's kind of funny that I say that because it's like 3 hours, but it's still we're like having a podcast of a you know, people our own age, like even John, right?
Mm-hmm.
His entire background and the stuff that he's done in his life is just it's a really good way to show everybody just exactly how similar we are, but as we age, how different our maps are, our quilts or tapestries of our lives are just so different, but they're all made up of the same threads.
Yeah.
You know, like I was having a conversation with Jim, the doctor at yoga the other day, and we ended up talking about diet, and he's a doctor, and he started. I hear this from a lot of people, which I don't agree with this philosophy at all. But they're like, well, you know, different diets for different people, and I'm like, okay. I'm going to have to just respectfully completely disagree with you on that, Jim. And here's why. Here's why I disagree with you. Is that even females and males are more similar than they are different. And there's absolutely no scientific basis behind saying that different people need to eat wildly different things in order to be healthy.
Yeah. I mean,
Scientifically, that just doesn't make any damn sense.
we're all running the same operating system.
Well, that's cognitive, but there's truth to that too,
Yeah.
right? But if you think about it, if we didn't have grocery stores, and there are tribes that live in the savannah, and there are tribes that live in the forest, they don't eat wildly different things. That's never been a thing for our.
Yeah, they all eat the same stuff.
They all eat the same things, right? And he's like, well, you know, sometimes plants or this are better for some people, and this is better for other people. And I said that I've had other people who have been much less successful than me with their diet, who do their diet that way. And so I'm going to say politely, I disagree. I think that it's very, very narrow as to what is actually right to eat. But it's very hard to understand. Like, there's a huge difference between grain-fed animals and grass-fed animals. I get a lot of people say, well, red meat makes me feel bad. Well, if it's a sick animal and you're eating it, it's going to make you feel bad.
Yeah.
So it's not like you can just say all red meat is good for you. Well, that's how's the animal raised? It does matter.
It's an unhealthy animal. It's going to be unhealthy.
It's going to make
in
your
you.
gut feel bad.
Yeah.
Right. So
Yeah.
if that thing's been raised on gluten and MSG and,
Yeah.
so.
Yeah, they're just trying to fatten those fuckers up, man.
And why is that? Why do they care whether those animals are fat?
Because they get more money the fatter it is.
There
I
you
mean,
go.
it's all money. It's all money.
So you're absolutely right. This is why the phrase is the root of all evil is the love of money. Not money. The love of money.
The love of money is the root of all evil.
Uh-huh. So if you basically what it's saying is if you put that as your highest priority, that's what the root of all evil is.
Wow. All right.
So I don't think you and I, with doing this podcast, that we're thinking about all the money that we're going to make. We'd like to make money. I'd like to just do this.
Yeah.
But do I think I'm ever going to be Joe Rogan size? No.
No. But
I would like to be a part of the bottom 1% of the successful podcasts.
yeah.
That would be very nice.
Yeah. Yeah. If we just had to get up and do this every day.
And I agree with you. We're going to have to the freedom that alone will provide
Yeah.
is going to mean that we're going to have to learn how to do this not in the same room all the time. Although Lex Friedman travels all over the world to do all of his podcasts in person.
Hey, I'd be willing to do that.
I'd be willing to go with you.
Yeah. I mean, I love that idea about going and doing something somewhere, and it'd be great. It'd be amazing.
So did you write an outline for this podcast that you're trying to keep us on?
It was very loose. I just put December 9th, ice plunge update. I kind of feel like that's what I like, having an ice plunge update where we just start going, hey, we did this week.
I finally figured out how to use an app to quasi track. I made a custom.
I finally got in, felt like
You
a
did.
lot lower than normal.
You did.
Yeah.
A whole 4 inches lower.
Yep.
I got a question for you though. Why are you sitting on your feet when you're in there?
What are you sitting on?
On the ground?
Then where do you put your feet?
I'm sitting Indian style.
I've never really thought about it. I've never really consciously said I'm going to go in and sit this way. I guess that's just my natural instinct to sit that way.
I get in, and you know how I don't know, maybe I've spent a lot more time in pools.
Yeah. Well, also, Heath, it's not politically correct to say Indian style anymore. People say crisscross applesauce now.
This is what I think about politically correct.
That's not the way people from India sit.
I wasn't even taught. What Indian are you talking about? Dot or feather?
Dot or feather?
Is there anything more incorrect than that?
There is not.
But
No.
everybody knows what you're talking about, so why is it politically incorrect?
Yeah.
When you go to India, they don't have feathers in their hair.
Is Indian...
When you go to the reservations, they don't have dots on their forehead.
Is Indian style dot or feather?
It's feather.
It's feather?
It's feather.
Because, I mean, people in India sit...
Maybe it's both.
Maybe it's both.
I think you might be right. I've never considered it. I always thought, because I really wasn't paying attention to Indians, right? When I was a kid, that when they said sit Indian style in gym class, because they were very unpolitically correct back in the 70s.
Yeah.
They didn't even know that there was such a thing, because there isn't. Anyway, so yeah, Indian style is my legs cross-legged or yoga. Okay, how about that yoga style? You like that yoga style? I love that you brought that up.
Hold on,
Being
I'm
politically
asking
correct.
ChatGPT.
Oh well, it's also politically correct.
Let's see what it says.
It's like being programmed to lie.
Is the term for sitting Indian style referring to Native American Indians or people from India?
It's going to tell you how politically incorrect it is to ask it that question.
In the United States, Indian style has been historically associated with Native American sitting postures, given the stereotype that Native Americans commonly sat on the ground in a cross-legged position. However, this term is considered outdated and culturally insensitive, as it perpetuates stereotypes and does not accurately represent the diverse cultures. I mean, it's the way somebody sits.
But how do they figure that it doesn't accurately represent the Indian culture? And did anybody ask the Indians if they're offended by it? Or did they just imagine this in their head?
It's better to use terms like cross-legged or specify a particular cultural context if applicable, such as sitting in the traditional Japanese style or sitting in the lotus position, which is a yoga pose with origins in India.
All of a sudden, they're completely outlawing having sayings or jargon or...
I guess, man.
Can you imagine, girl? I have empathy for your son growing up in this day and age. All the things that he has to be sensitive to.
Yeah.
It must be anxiety overloading.
Yeah.
Because
you don't want to say the wrong thing.
Well, and it's constantly shifting.
Yeah.
I can remember one time going to visit my sister in New York and using the phraseology of an Oriental person.
Yeah.
And she was like, oh, that's totally inappropriate. I'm like, okay. And then I realized many, many years later, because of how embarrassed I was about it, that was all bullshit.
Yeah.
That was their stereotype of using that word. Because there's a lot of people from the Orient, and they are Oriental people.
Yeah.
And they could be white, black, yellow, red, but they're from the Orient.
Yeah.
So I don't believe I used a derogatory phraseology by saying Oriental people.
Yes. Yes. The term Oriental is considered outdated and potentially offensive.
Outdated by who? And when will it be back indated? Do they realize that words go out of date and then come back in?
It has a colonial and Eurocentric history.
Colonial?
And its usage is associated with a time when Western perspective portrayed Asian cultures in a stereotypical and exoticized manner. Like, remember when Jerry Lewis used to dress up as the Oriental dude?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I loved it. And the French absolutely think Jerry Lewis is the king of all comedians. Did you know that?
Yes, I did know that.
They are like all in on Jerry Lewis. This is a culture that has basically, the French have basically created. They're the foundation for politically incorrect.
Yeah.
Can you think of a more ironic thing than them loving the shit out of Jerry Lewis?
No.
And who did the Asian guy in the 7-Year Itch?
Oh, I don't know, but I can picture him. Do you know about...
Wait a minute. Andy Rooney.
Andy Rooney?
Was it Andy Rooney? I gotta know now. I think I'm close.
7 years.
He was also in Yankee Doodle Dandy.
Oh, wow.
He does not look Asian to you, does he?
Oh, no. It's not the movie that came up. It's like the 7-Year Itch. Here it is, 1955 film. I don't know if it's Andy Rooney, man. I'm looking at the cast. Are you thinking Mickey Rooney?
Mickey Rooney.
Mickey Rooney. I met Mickey Rooney. He's a nice guy. But he does not appear that he was in.
Oh, he was. He's the Asian guy.
I don't even see him on here. And then Mickey Rooney shows up and you want to throw your remote through the television.
Where is it? Where is the other one? I know it's lurking here somewhere to get me. Where is Captain Video's other roller skate? Now who's that?
You're going to love this. Oh, no. It's not what I thought it was.
Yes? What is it?
What is that, Zach? What'd you say?
I said, man, Marilyn Monroe is so fine.
It's perfectly alright.
He's all of a sudden, he's real happy.
Anytime. Anything else I can do for you?
Yes, would you mind pressing it again?
Press what?
The button. My fan's caught in the door.
My fanny's caught in the door.
Thank you.
Do you live in our building?
Yes, in the Kaufman's apartment. I took it for the summer while they were away in Europe.
Well, isn't that nice? I know you'll be very happy here. It's a very charming little building. Very quiet. No dogs. No children. Just two interior decorators. And you. And of course me.
You all right?
Oh, sure. Fine. Fine.
Well, good night.
Good night.
Man,
Well, I thought there was going to be about the neighbor because there's a part.
Well, now.
Mickey Rooney.
Maybe I should.
do you know about The Day the Clown Cried? The Jerry Lewis movie. That, like, I believe he directed it. Oh yeah, Jerry Lewis directed a movie, and and the subject matter is so jarring that they decided not to release it. So no one's ever seen this movie. It's called The Day the Clown Cried, and it takes place during the Holocaust, and he is at a concentration camp, and he is a clown, and he leads all the children into the gas chambers, and then they gas the children. But he's a clown, and he makes the children laugh and all this shit. There's like stills from it, like the people, like it exists, but it got put away because they were like, this is like way too heavy, like no one can ever see this movie.
It sounds like it needs to be found and released or remade.
Well,
Because it sounds like it has a lot of like jarring stuff, but at the same time it sounds. So was he playing a Jewish guy who was trying to make their last moments not be complete fear? Is that what was going on?
no, he's German.
Is he a German guy who's trying to make the kids laugh for the one last time because he knows they're you know what I mean?
I don't know. I don't know.
I mean, they don't have a reason to do that, right? They were killing them. They obviously didn't care how they felt.
Yeah.
I did not know about this, and I want to know more.
It's this, like, I mean, there's a lot of info about it. Some, like, a couple scenes have leaked, and I think the script is out there. But at a certain, I'm trying to look at the date. at some point it's going to become like public record. There's a documentary about it from 2016.
Oh, I'm sorry. I mixed up my old movies. Mickey Rooney is the Asian guy in Breakfast at Tiffany's. I think that's what. Yeah, Breakfast at Tiffany's opening scene. Check it out.
Yeah. Yeah, that's pretty. They probably cut that out now.
Oh, here's where he's talking. This one's great. You know where they ring the door, the buzzer to anybody just to get let in? That's what they're doing to him.
Oh, I gotcha.
He took a picture of himself.
Now, really, Harry? Harry was the other guy. I'm Sid Arbuck. You like me, remember? Mr. Golightly, I protest.
Oh, darling, I am sorry, but I lost my key.
But that was 2 weeks ago. You cannot go on or keep ringing my bell. You disturb me. You must have a key made.
But it won't do any good. I just lose them all.
Come on, baby. You like me. You know you do.
I worship you, Mr. Arbuck. Good night, Mr.
Hold on,
Arbuck.
baby. Wait a minute. What is this? You like me. I'm a liked guy. You like me, baby. You know you do.
In 30 seconds, I got to call the police. All the time a disturbance. I cannot sleep. I got to get to my rest. I'm an artist. I got to call the bike squad on you.
Don't be angry, you dear little man. I won't do it again. You promise not to be angry. I might let you take those pictures me mentioned.
When?
Sometime.
Anytime.
Good night.
Wow.
Yeah,
How inappropriate is just about everything about that scene.
They ain't doing that anymore.
The beta guys that she's leading on. The Asian, the white guy who's got dentures in his eye. Jesus.
Okay, so on August 5th, 2015, Jerry Lewis donated a copy of the film to the Library of Congress under the stipulation that it not to be screened before June 2024.
Why that date?
Because he believed at that point all of the staunch critics of the film from 1972 were already dead. The Library of Congress intends to eventually screen it at its Audiovisual Conservation Campus in Culpeper, Virginia.
What's the name of the movie?
The Day the Clown Cried.
Well, you know that somebody who has access has watched this.
Yes, there's all these. There's people that say they've seen it. If you go down the rabbit hole and read all about it, like, it is incredibly interesting.
Here you go.
Yeah, you got
the
scene from it.
It is the story of a clown who was once the premier clown, who is no more the top clown.
Looks like he was a Jewish.
Who is having a difficult time
What really happened
No one knows.
Can you do fiction about the Holocaust? Yes, I think you can.
You will see wonderful things happen to a human being because some things happen that make him think about others besides himself, and that's all I'm going to tell you.
Jerry Lewis, very notorious, like, not nice dude. For being, like, as big of a comedian and, like, making people laugh. Like, suppose if you, like, saw Jerry Lewis on the street and went up and said, introduced, asked for an autograph.
I've been a comedian
Complete,
for many years, and
complete asshole to people. Yeah. Like, very, he had that rep for years.
So did you ever see any of the movies that he was in with Steve Martin? Not Steve Martin.
Steve.
No.
The guy with glasses?
No. That's much. No, one of the original.
Dean Martin.
Dean Martin.
Yeah.
Dean Martin.
Yep.
This was what happens when you. My brain is Swiss cheese.
I went through a Rat Pack phase.
What do you think of those movies? Did you see all the Jerry Lewis, Dean Martin movies?
Yeah, I don't really like Jerry Lewis's comedy. I mean, I'd like to see this movie for obvious reasons, but like,
I have a feeling that Jerry Lewis, when he was first getting started, maybe it's the opposite of this. You know, it very well could be, but Dean Martin and him had a complete falling out.
Yeah,
100%. Like, Dean wanted nothing to do with him, and I just can't see that kind of like animosity coming from Dean.
Well, Dean was also like
a very big drunk.
Very big drunk. Like drunk.
Like very big drunk.
Like 24 hours a day. So.
Yeah. Smoked and drank and.
Yeah.
Didn't these guys all die fairly young? I mean.
I remember Sammy Davis being old.
And when I say that, don't forget Benjamin Franklin lived to be 84 years old.
Yeah.
Before germ theory. So these guys all dying before 80 something is kind of dying young considering all the money they had and all the access they had to healthcare.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, healthcare compared to Benjamin Franklin's age.
Yeah, right.
Who went over the ocean, 3 times in a little wooden boat?
Well, it's Dean Martin, Jerry Lewis, Sinatra, and Sammy Davis Jr. That's like the core Rat Pack.
You're forgetting one that nobody talks about but was there all the time. He was the good-looking guy with the gray hair. You know who I'm talking about? You know the face, right?
Yeah.
I can't remember his name either.
I mean,
Well, look up Rat Pack.
You know, Sammy Davis when he went on.
I think the reason we can't remember his name is because he was in like Ocean's 11.
Yeah.
The original one.
Yeah.
But he wasn't in any other. Well, no, that's not true. He had his own movies too.
Peter Lawford.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's it.
And he was married to somebody famous, right?
I don't know. All before my time. But I still know a great deal about those movies because I used to watch those old movies all the time. Like I used to watch... Oh,
I know why I know. He's married to one of the Kennedys. He married Patricia Kennedy, which is JFK's sister. So Peter Lawford was tight. So there's some of the connection to JFK with, and we forgot Joey Bishop.
This is the image that they show on YouTube
Yep.
So I don't believe he was a guard.
He wasn't a guard. He was another member.
I think he was one of the Jews in the camp.
And then he just chooses to dress up as a clown to give the
Well,
children
he always
some
was
joy.
he always was a clown, according to that interview, right?
Yeah.
He was the premier clown, and so he chooses to,
reprise his role as a clown.
instead of these kids going to their death, completely frightened out of their mind.
Yep.
I think that's a movie worth making.
Yeah.
It really shows the depth of. Yeah. Have you read Viktor Frankl's book?
Yeah, I read that in high school. Man's Search for Meaning.
You did?
Yeah.
That's a hell of a book to read in high school, man.
Yeah, I went to Catholic school. So
Is that a net positive or a net negative? Going to Catholic school.
I mean, I don't know. It's just a thing. It wasn't.
I got to tell you, I never would have guessed that. All the other things that you talk about your childhood,
Yeah.
that your parents put you in Catholic school.
I went to 12 years. I went to Catholic grade school as well.
You went to high school in Catholic school?
I went to Catholic from 1 to 12 was Catholic.
See, most of the guys that I grew up with, they went to Catholic school during grade school, or during middle school.
Yeah.
And then at 8th grade, they went to the public high school.
Okay.
But maybe that was because there was no Catholic high school.
Yeah.
Well, no, there was. It was Carmel. Yep.
My dad went there, so that's why I ended up going there. And they had a good hockey team, and that's the other reason I went.
Okay.
There. But it was all boys.
Well, I did a good job. I like who you are.
Well, thanks. It was all boys, which is an interesting experience.
I don't know that that's a positive. Do you?
Well, that proved to not be a positive when I went to college and actually was in class with females sitting next to me. Because guess what?
Didn't know how to deal with it.
I couldn't concentrate on my studies because there was girls all of a sudden. So that's why I would never why I wouldn't
This is why you
recommend that.
teach your son how to use a gun. It's just instead of just telling him they're bad.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because what if he's really interested in guns, but he never bothers to tell you because your whole life you've been telling him how bad they are.
Yeah.
And then when he gets around one, he doesn't have any idea what to do with it.
Yeah. Right. You might as well teach him.
That was a pretty good, analogy.
Yeah, it was.
Guns and...
Yeah. Yeah, Catholic school, man, is...
Having no idea what to do with it, but...
They used to, hit us in Catholic school.
I know. Corporal punishment was a thing.
Yeah, I mean, that's unbelievable to think of. There's no way in hell they would do that now. But it wasn't... I mean, I guess it was that long ago. I graduated in 1996. So early 90s, yeah, we were getting slapped on the back. There was one teacher that would come up behind us. Big dude, Mr. Jeffries. And he would slap you on the back. And you're wearing like a button-down shirt. So your shirt's not... It's not like I got a thick hoodie on or anything. I got like some thin-ass shirt. And this motherfucker's slapping us across the back for no apparent reason. Yep.
Is that the worst part of your teacher experience?
No.
Well, tell it. What's your worst part?
Well, I was right at the summer after I graduated, I was facing 6 years in jail and I don't know, something like $8,000 in fines for phone misuse, for making prank phone calls.
So this is around the time of that. What was the guys' names that were doing all the crank calls?
The Jerky Boys.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Jerky Boys were around them, but we had always done prank phone calls because you could get away with I thought you could get away with it. But
were you calling from home?
Well, there was this teacher that always used to fuck with us in school.
Oh.
So we started calling this motherfucker. Jerry Naylor was his name. So he used to come over and kick my whole cafeteria table out. So we'd go to, in high school, it's like we weren't drinking and shit. We were just out like causing a ruckus. But like it wasn't like drug fueled or alcohol fueled or anything. So we go to Dunkin' Donuts, we go to payphones, and we got this fucking guy's number, and we would call him and fuck with him.
How'd you get his number?
The phone book.
Imagine that.
Imagine that.
He's in the white pages.
They used to print a big book of everyone's phone numbers.
That wasn't a bad idea, huh?
And it would just show up at your door. Remember The Jerk with Steve Martin? The new phone book's here. My name in print. Things are going to start happening to me. So we call this guy and fuck with him. First, we started out just like hollering at him over the phone and shit. Then I got a little more creative. So they used to brew Natty Boh beer in Baltimore. And like we knew this guy.
The place I lived, I could sit on my back porch and watch him blink.
Yeah.
Natty Boh.
Yep. So I called him one time and told him that we got his name on a list and we were compiling a National Bohemian All-Star softball team. And we invited him to the Natty Boh factory for...
he played softball, did he?
For an all-star softball game and crab feast. And like this motherfucker got his shit on and went to the fucking factory. And they were like, what the fuck are you talking about, man? Oh, when he...
And he was mad at you for being convincing?
He gave blood in school. And I used to use the name Bill Long a lot. And I'd say, Mr. Naylor, I left this message on his machine. Mr. Naylor, this is Bill Long from the American Red Cross. We had some strange things with your blood sample, and we need you to give us a call on Monday morning. Please refrain from any sexual activity until you speak with us. And like, I used to do shit like that. So this guy was friends with a cop. The cop set him up with shit to trace the calls. Then I was in the studio recording
how often were you doing this?
Well, so the whole senior class was doing it. Okay? So the whole senior class. So
why would
I was set up as the fall guy?
I want to hear this story so bad, but I got to interject this thing. Is your high school like mine was, where some of the guys that you went to high school with, that when they got out of high school and they became cops, you're like, oh.
Yeah.
Now I understand why that guy was that way.
Yeah,
I mean, I'm not saying all cops are like that, but it was like they have this power thing.
Yeah.
And they have some real personality flaws.
And in an all-boys school, there are definitely dudes like that. But this guy was like a grown-up version of that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, he was the guy who became a teacher, and some of them became teachers, and some of them became cops.
Yeah. Yeah, he was like the dickhead teacher. He was an accounting
teacher. But they're
teacher.
all beta males.
I never even had him in class.
Yeah.
I never took one of his classes.
So you were saying the whole senior class was crank calling him?
Yeah.
And he didn't just think to change his fucking number?
No. So he had some kind of like vindictive thing that he was going to catch who did this.
Oh, I see.
So he was friends with the cop, and the cop helped him.
Okay.
So
that explains a lot. The guy who went to be a cop and the guy who went to be a teacher actually are friends, because birds of a feather.
I'm in my bedroom one day, listening to music, whatever you do. I had already graduated, thank God, because I wouldn't have graduated.
You had already graduated and you were still making these calls?
Well, no, like I think probably we did call a couple times. So my mom comes upstairs and she said, hey, the police just called. They're on their way over here to talk with you. Have you done anything? They wouldn't tell me what it was about. And I was like, I haven't done anything.
Were you 18?
Yes.
Oh, okay, that was why. Had you just turned 18?
No, I'd been 18 for 6 months or so. Okay. So it could have been a couple things that the cops were calling about. So I played dumb. And
Which, you know, absolutely everybody should not say anything.
Well,
because you can't trust cops.
This is how I learned that at the age of 18. And my dad and my mom and me, like, I went downstairs and we sat in the living room, and the guy was like, Zach, do you have a boombox or something that I could play a cassette tape on? And I was like, yeah. And like I walked upstairs and got my little portable thing.
Oh, you should have said no, yeah.
I should have said no. At that point, I still didn't know, because I thought the band, I thought we like wrote a song or something that somebody didn't like, or, you know, like I still thought at this point it was related to my music.
And they wanted your parents to identify your voice.
I don't know. I didn't know. And
but that's what they wanted. That's why they were there, because they had nothing without their without their.
Put the cassette tape in, hit play, and it's me and a couple of my friends making this prank phone call.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What'd your dad say?
He kind of thought it was funny until... So the cop says, listen, was this you on the tape?
And you said?
He's like, we got people that tells us it was you. This person and this person that you know are involved. And they told us it was them. Chet and Tony told us it was them. And that's who was on there with me. So he's like, Mr. Naylor just wants us to go away. He doesn't want any more calls. And if you just admit that it's you, like, it's over. Like, we just know we can put an end to it. I was like, yeah, that was me.
That was not the end of it.
That was not the end of it. My band was in the studio, and we get a phone call at the studio. No cell phones. And it's this guy, Chet, and he calls me and my friend Tony. He's like, you guys need to get to the fucking police station and pick up these fucking papers, or they're going to come to your house and arrest you. Like, they got you, like, you've been arrested. So you can either go to the station or they'll come to your house and get you. So we were like, fuck. So we went to the station. And so the cop said to me, he's like, when's the last time you made a phone call? And I was like, I haven't made a call in a couple months. And he's like, how about from Dunkin' Donuts this past Saturday evening at 11:51 p.m.? And I was like, oh, okay. That was the last one. I forgot about that one. So I got charged with 2 counts of phone misuse. Because I used payphones, it was considered a crime against the Howard County government. So, like, they really tried to throw the fucking book at me. They tried to throw the book at your boy, man.
Was this after they came to your house?
Yes.
So you kept doing it?
No. I stopped. We stopped. Once the cop came to my house and we admitted that we did it twice. Like, we didn't do it anymore. We thought it was over. We thought we were good. Damn, we got busted. That sucks. But, like, we know we can't do it anymore. Well, then a month later, then we get these papers and the summons to court.
I guess I would have been pretty pissed, too, if I had gone all the way to Natty Boh.
Then my dad was kind of pissed at that point when we had to go to court. You know what I mean? He had a decent lawyer that helped us out. Well, the guy was really pushing. The lawyer came over in court and he was like, you know how to pick 'em, Zach. He said, this fucking asshole really wants your asses to go to jail. He wanted us to go to jail at least for like a week or something. They ended up talking. I didn't have anything else on my record. We ended up with PBJ. Ended up with
PBJ?
Probation before judgment. Ended up with 1,000 hours of community service.
Did you go and serve it all?
Oh, hell yeah.
Because, you know, they hand that out nowadays and kids don't show up to it, and it eventually just goes away.
I worked at the Department of Finance for Howard County. doing like data entry and stuff.
Uh-huh.
And like kids were coming in. I'd be like, what did you get caught for? He'd be like, I got caught with an ounce of weed. I was like, damn, how many hours did you get? 20.
How many did you get?
1,000. 1,000.
For phone calls.
And I was working at the time.
And you weren't even trying to scam him out of any money or anything.
No. And I was working at the time. So like I worked 40 hours a week.
Dude, you should totally write a book about this.
Yeah, you think?
Just this one thing.
Well,
and how many people were involved with, and call all your high school buddies and ask how many of them actually did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, somebody went to his house and was beating on his windows.
Actually, this would make a good movie.
And this was not me. But like he thought that was us. And I was like, they kept asking us in court, did you go to his? I'm like, I never went to, I don't know where he lives. I never went to his house.
Did they ask you how many people were doing this?
Yeah. And we said it was everybody.
And what did they say to that? Did they not believe you?
No. It didn't matter to him. He didn't care that it was everybody. He had his 3 people, me and my 2 friends. He had his 3 people that were going down for it.
It really surprises me that the guy didn't think to change his number and just make it a private number.
Yeah, you could do that back then.
Just change your number.
So when I was done my community service, they threw me a fucking party at the Department of Finance, cake and ice cream.
Because you're a good guy, man.
They offered me a job, which I probably should have taken. Probably would have had a good, nice.
You didn't get paid for any of that work?
No.
See I think that's wrong.
But I did an incredible job there.
I think they should have paid you. Doing community service doesn't mean that you have to be a slave.
Yeah, and I pretty much was.
And in fact, I would say that if you really want to rehabilitate somebody,
yeah,
you get them a job that pays.
Yeah.
And then they go, oh, this is better than fucking around.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You don't even have to pay them a lot. Just now, they've got to be there. They've got to make money. And you go, here's a reward for doing something good.
So...
Seems like a good life lessons, doesn't it?
Fast forward like 4 years later. Ellicott City, downtown Ellicott City, Maryland. Tony and I, who were both involved in that, we lived together. We lived in Ellicott City. We walk down the side streets, go to local bar, get a couple beers. And we walk in, and who is fucking sitting there but Jerry fucking Naylor sitting in the bar.
What did you guys do?
And I turn and look at Tony. I'm like, yo, that's Jerry Naylor. And Tony walked right up to him, was like, hey, you remember me, you motherfucker? And like Jerry Naylor got up and tried to fight my friend, but Jerry Naylor was fucking wasted. And his friend ended up like getting him out of the bar and everything. But like Tony was like, I'm gonna beat that motherfucker's ass, because that's my buddy Tony. That's the way he was. We're very opposite. But yeah, that was the last time we saw him. But if I had gotten caught while I was in high school, like I would have been expelled like immediately from that school. So luckily, because that would have sucked.
I wish cops were more like they were when my father grew up. He actually had the way he talked about the police in Lake Zurich where he grew up. I mean, he had a Harley when he was 14.
Yeah.
No, don't get me wrong. My dad's
when he was 14.
When he was 14, but what was a Harley back then? He was born in 34.
Yeah.
So it was a really small town, and when he took one of his dad's cars to go into Chicago, there was one stop sign between Lake Zurich and Chicago. Right? And this is back before McDonald's.
Right.
Which isn't that long ago, but you know how many McDonald's there are now. And the first one was Mr. Speedy's in Des Plaines, Illinois.
That was the first McDonald's?
Yeah.
Okay.
But yeah, he would talk about the police in Lake Zurich, and he would get pulled over by them, and they would be like, hey, they wouldn't even talk about the speeding, you know? Like, you're part of my community kind of people.
Right, they were community.
Right.
And they knew him, probably. They knew exactly who he was.
They knew who he was. They knew his entire family. They knew his you know, I mean, he met my mom when he was 17.
Damn.
They got married at 19 and 17. You know? And so it was a much different time back then, where it was an actual. The police were part of the community. It was a much different thing. The incentives were. I can remember this one party I was at. We're all underage drinking, and this cop, who he was always wearing floods and he had his pants pulled up too high.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, no social common sense.
Right.
He's a cop. By the time it was, I was in high school, there was a type, right? And I don't even understand why, but there was. He came into this party and he opened the back door. He never knocked. And he walked in and he took his nightstick and he smacked it on the table. And he started pointing it at different people. And one of those guys that you grew up with high school, where you want to be his friend and you never want to be his enemy, because in any situation, he's rock steady calm. And you think, this is what a psychopath looks like.
Right.
Right. Like but not, because you could totally tell what he was going to do. And so he stood up. He goes, "You want to take that fucking badge off, or you want to get out of this house? Because you're either leaving one way or the other. You can get the fuck out, or I can drag you the fuck out of here, because you weren't invited in, and nobody opened that door." And the guy looked at him and turned around and left.
Damn, smart move. Damn, who the fuck? That's a ballsy
I don't even
move
remember
to
what
be.
that. I was never at these parties that much, because I wasn't that. I didn't think of myself as being that popular, but I was there that one time.
Yeah, but you didn't go to parties like that?
I did, but not as much as other people. But I was at that one because I was really attracted to this girl who was throwing the party, Amber Polnaski, I think her name was. She was fucking gorgeous.
That's a real Chicago name.
Yeah, Polish.
Yeah.
It was like twins. She had a sister that was like really tall and just not attractive.
The sister wasn't attractive?
Not at all.
But Amber was attractive.
Oh my God. It was like it was all poured into one kid. I remember going with her. I came by her house because I was a senior and she was a sophomore, and she had gotten suspended for doing something.
Yeah,
as most of the good-looking girls do occasionally in high school, at least at where I grew up.
What did she do?
I don't remember exactly, but I was just like, oh, here's my opportunity.
Oh, they're like you're saying the good-looking girls are bad girls?
Well, they can get into shit, and I think she actually came from a Catholic grade school.
Yeah,
and the Catholic girls.
Yeah,
there was no boys in their classes, so they went a little bit crazy.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? It's just a bad idea to segregate. It's just unnatural.
My school had 3 sister schools, so like.
3 times as many girls?
Yeah.
Not going to your school?
And we got out at like 2:15 and they got out at like 2:45. So we would go sit in the parking lot.
As if you can pull human potential out of kids. People just don't understand the power of hormones.
Yeah. Yeah, it's
so
really...
I got to tell this story. So I went to her house in my beat up pickup truck, and I knocked on the door and I said, "I heard you got suspended. Are you busy?" She says, "No, I'm just stuck here at home." This is pre-internet. There's nothing to do.
Yeah.
There's barely cable TV back then.
Yeah. What is this? This is 80, early 80s?
This is early 80s. This
Yeah.
is like 80 what year did I get my license? So I was 15 in 83. So this is like 84, 85.
Okay.
So I barely got my license.
Gotcha.
But my dad bought me this Toyota 2x4 pickup truck. And so I went to her house and I picked her up and I took her to, where did we go to? It was, I forget what park it was. It was a forest preserve. And there was guys there. She probably still has this mark on her leg, right? There were these guys there that were there partying on their motorcycles. And so she got a ride on the back of one of these motorcycles, and she burned her leg really badly on the muffler. I was not a closer. Let's just put it that way.
Yeah. So you took her there, and then she ended up hopping on some other dude's motorcycle?
Yeah, well, you know, that was fine. I think I even brought a bottle of vodka.
Yeah.
You know, so we were hanging out, and she was really, really gorgeous.
Yeah. Have you looked her up?
I have not.
No, you should.
I should.
You should. Just, I mean, out of curiosity.
I didn't know this until many, many years later, and I was talking about her, and one of the guys. So one of the guys I grew up with in the neighborhood, David. He was really good friends with another guy, Joey Kloss, and Joey's like, "Oh yeah, I'm her cousin." I'm like, Kloss and Polnaski. Okay.
Yeah, right.
So, well, that's not how you say her last name. I'm like, okay, well.
Man, maybe her sister's the hot one now.
Yeah, no.
Not even close.
No. I think that we're actually half sisters.
Oh, okay. I thought you said they were twins.
No, they were not twins.
I could have sworn you said
I
twins.
I said it was kind of like the movie Twins.
Oh, kind of like the movie Twins. Okay.
You know what? I didn't say kind of like the movie
You
Twins.
said kind of like twins.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right. I left out the important part of that sentence.
Oh, God. That's it. We're calling it a night at that. That's a good movie, though.
It is. It
Yeah.
is. It is one of his best.
Yeah.
Both of those guys, it is one of their best movies.
Oh, yeah.
And I think if you look up how much it made in money, it is still phenomenally, like, one of the money that movie made.
You know they're making a sequel to that.
No.
Yeah.
With him?
With both of them.
Are you shitting me? He's going to make another Twins movie with
Yeah. They
Danny DeVito and Arnold Schwarzenegger get back together again. Is there
It's called Triplets. It is called Triplets.
Oh, so they found a third?
Yes. Let me see.
Let me see if I can guess who it is. It's got to be in the same age group. I can't imagine.